All right, good afternoon. Lots to cover here. Going to go and start directly with this article from The Guardian. This is an article from The Guardian. This is from yesterday, September 29th, 2023. I'm going to read some of this here. Robert Kennedy Jr. to run for president as independent in 2024. Great way to start it out. He's going to run as an independent in 2024. Well, there we go. So I'm going to read a little bit more about this. Okay, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is reported to be ending his challenge to Joe Biden for the Democratic presidential nomination and run instead as an independent candidate in a move that could upset the 2024 race for the White House. Kennedy, 69 and a scion of famous political dynasty, a son of the former U.S. Attorney General and New York Senator Robert F. Kennedy, a nephew of the former President John F. Kennedy, will announce his run in Pennsylvania on October 9th, according to Media 8. And I probably should read from that article, but that's okay. That's the source of it. Bobby feels that the Democratic National Committee is changing the rules to exclude his candidacy, so an independent run is on the way to go, is the only way to go. The website quoted a Kennedy campaign insider as saying. I'm going to go to the article. So let's go to the Mediaite article, and I will see if this flips over. If not, I'll flip it over for you. It sure did. The one time it does, flip to the next article. All right. This is from Diana Falzoni, September 29th, 2023, on Mediaite.com. That's Mediaite.com. 2024 presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. plans to announce he will run as an independent on October 9th in Pennsylvania. Mediaite has learned. Kennedy's campaign machine is now planning, quote, attack ads, quote, end quote, against the Democratic National Committee in order to pave the way for his announcement in Philadelphia about running as an independent, according to a text reviewed by Mediaite. And we talked about that. Let's see. Kennedy, a notorious anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist, which is not true. That is totally, absolutely not true. That Kennedy is some anti-vaxxer. He's not an anti-vaxxer, and he's made that very, very clear. So I'm not going to read the hit piece stuff they want to draw on RFK Jr., but I will go through some more. I'm looking for the quotes, really. So we'll see if that is going to happen. See, while the Times reported Democrats worried that a third party run by Mr. Kennedy could draw votes away from Mr. Biden and help elect former President Donald J. Trump, it's unclear whether such a run would hurt the current president more than the Republican nominee. Right? They want to turn it back against Trump. So I think that was the only quote that they had in the article from some text message. This one, though, I think there was another quote that they had. I could be wrong on that. Let's see if I can go back to the Guardian article, because the Guardian one did seem to have a little bit more. Yes. All right, go. Let's see. Talks about Kennedy's campaign. So that was the first thing that kind of got my ears kind of pointed up, like saying, what's going on here? What is going to happen? So yeah, that's all for that. And then do have a few other clips here to play that I wanted to, where he is specifically talking about a third party. So I'm going to pull that up here, but that was a fascinating thing to me because I did not think it was going to happen this early, and it did. It's nothing is official yet, but I'm going to play for you some of what Kennedy has been talking about, and I may stop this periodically here, but these are some of the recent comments, and then Kennedy's most recent video, and we'll go look at his Twitter and his website, which has been hasn't been a lot of updates on the website as there usually are, so that's interesting too. But I'm going to play this and maybe stop it periodically. Always want to get into the high def if possible. All right, let's play this.
If they really shut down the process, we're right now, we're grappling with the DNC, trying to get them to do the right thing. But if they rig the process so that I can't possibly win, which is how it's rigged right now, then I would have to look at other options. I would have to look at running as, maybe outside of the party.
And this is, he's talked a little bit about this in the past, and what you'll see here is later I'll have some other clips where every time they ask him about third party, he's like, I'm running as a Democrat. I'm running to bring the Democrat Party back to what it once was. That's what he's been running as. And even if he runs as a third party candidate, it's still going to be the same thing. He's still going to try to bring the party back to what it once was. I don't have any doubt about that. And if anyone can do it, he can do it. But I think what is really going to happen is he's going to expose further the Democrat Party to the people who still may be holding on hope to the Democrat Party. Some of those people that are blinded by their hatred towards President Donald J. Trump, or some of the people that are just kind of don't, just go, hey, well, whatever, whoever wins and that's it, right? Or have already have their heels deep inside Biden's back. So let me play a few minutes of this next one, because this is the message you're going to hear from RFK Jr. This is his most recent message, and it's all about October 9th. Set your calendar for October 9th. Something big is going to happen. We may get a glimpse of what that is. And it sounds like things are being leaked and a lot of people already know. I'm still shocked. I'm still shocked that RFK Jr. may run as the third party candidate. I am shocked.
Party. Hi, everybody. I'm going to be in Philadelphia on October 9th to make a major announcement at the very birthplace of our nation. I'm not going to tell you right now exactly what that announcement will be. I can say, though, that if you've been waiting to come to one of my public events, this will be the one to come to. I'll be speaking about a sea change in American politics and what your part and my part is in that change. A lot of Americans who had previously given up any hope that real change would ever come through the American electoral process have begun to find new hope in my candidacy. And I understand the deeply felt concern that people have about the way corruption has overtaken our government. It's in the executive branch, it's in Congress, it's in the leadership of both political parties. And so some people feel a kind of cynicism alongside the hope, or they lose hope entirely because they've been disappointed so many times. I want to tell you now what I've come to understand after 6 months of campaigning. There is a path to victory. The hope we are feeling isn't some kind of trick of the mind. We all recognize that there's a genuine possibility of national transformation, and its source is the goodness of the American people. Our government may be crooked, but our people are kind, brave, and caring. That goodness is stronger than the divisions that are keeping us all apart. I see it every day on the campaign trail, and the more I see it, the more I trust it. And the more I trust it, the more the path to victory becomes visible. So how are we going to win against the established Washington interests? It's not through playing the game by the corrupt rules that the corrupt powers and the vested interests have rigged to keep us all in their thrall. Instead, we're going to have to rewrite the assumptions and change the habits of American politics. We're going to tap into a mighty surge of people power to reclaim an honest, peaceful, just, and prosperous America. So I am inviting you to join me in Philadelphia on October 9th. There I'll share with you our path to the White House and how we can all participate in healing our nation.
And this is going to be very interesting. So October 9th, 2023 in Philadelphia, where he said the founding of this nation too. Man, this is powerful stuff. I mean, I am really looking forward to this. I'm thinking of if I could, I'd take the day off of work, or depending. And I don't know, they haven't given out a time yet, and that's the other thing we need to go and see if they have actually. Now we'll do the screen share again to see if they have any press. This is weird because I looked this up last night to see. Okay, usually they have it's either under press or under events. Let's go under events here. So this is going to be October 9th, and I don't see anything here for October 9th. So I don't know, that's a little weird. Now a lot of these are not in order either, so that makes it a little strange, but I don't see anything for October 9th. So I'm a little confused here. A little confused because there's nothing really there on the website. You can see, I'm actually very interested in some of the things he's doing. He's going to be in Hayward, California. Man, would I love to be there October 13th. He's in Seattle. I saw something for, he's at a farmer's market in San Rafael. And I saw something for Oakland, but I don't see that now either. He may have changed his mind on Oakland. He's in Merced. I mean, he's really, really going through California. If he wins California as a third-party candidate, that's going to be huge news. I mean, that is going to be just very, very powerful stuff, right? So Kennedy hits the campaign trail in Atlanta. I mean, there hasn't really been. They did a few things. One on September 26th, September 27th. No press releases since then. It's not under the events. News coverage. They have something. Okay. They finally are starting to have. They did not have this last night, so that's good. They have 3 news articles. All talking about, I mean, even September 27th. This is crazy. So to me, it looks like this is really going to happen. And I have mixed feelings about this. I do want to read through some of these articles here, but I do have some very mixed feelings about this because I was talking to my wife about this last night. It's like, okay, so now we are going to have, there's no chance of anyone else aside from Biden. When Kennedy was on Leo Vaughn, there's a good segment. I don't think I have it up. I don't believe I have it up yet. But I am going to put that up very, very soon. Actually, I'm going to try to see if I can. Can I upload this now here while we're waiting, while we're watching? No, let me not focus on that. Let me not get sidetracked too much. But there is a good. It's a 5-minute and 40-second. You know what? I got it. I got to get this up. I'm sorry. I hate to really slow down this podcast, but I want to get this up because maybe I can actually play it once it uploads towards the end of this broadcast, because it is very important to me. Do I not have it? Darn. Okay. All right. Sorry, I have to get. I got to get this up because hopefully by the end of the show I can play this. And Kennedy really explains and breaks it down on this past week with Leo Vaughn, and he's been a guest on that show. You can find that on YouTube, by the way, and they go about 2 hours, and I've just been rewatching it, pulling some clips from it. So just let me get that going, and then I'll bring my attention back to where we are. All right. So with that said, I'll let that upload for now. We'll play a few more clips, but this is just, I mean, everything is really heating up at this point. So we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to just play a little bit more of this third party fiasco. So, but it is, to me, it's really strange that he is not really talking about this on his website. and it's barely mentioned on Twitter too. So what is going on here? It's a little secretive, which is unusual for him. So everybody may be right. He may be running as a third-party candidate now, and that could be it. And that's where we are. That's where everything is going to go. So let me play this a little bit.
Governor, the NBC reporting the Biden team is feeling the heat from third-party candidates like Cornel West. I think also RFK Jr., although they're not allowed to talk about him, as we know, threatening to siphon off Biden voters. One staffer saying it's pretty effing concerning. You combo that with these new polls we're seeing, Trump up 10, according to ABC News Washington Post. I wonder what your thoughts are on whether or not the president actually makes it to the finish line here, or are they gonna come up with another plan?
This is also, just before we get there, this is also another thing because we have heard Donald Trump talk about this a few times here, that this guy, that Biden may not make it out of the gate. At least here in this Newsmax, they're talking about Biden may not make it to the finish line. I don't think anybody questions that, but to make it out of the gate is interesting. I'm going to explain why a little bit later when we talk about the debate that is coming up between California Governor Gavin Newsom and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. I mean, the plot thickens. The plot thickens here. This is going to be some interesting stuff. Let me play this. Let's see what a former governor thinks about this. Mr. Huckabee.
I don't see how he makes it to the finish line. He can barely get on and off Air Force One. I was surprised today that when he was talking to the union workers through the bullhorn, he knew which end to talk into. I was fully expecting him to scream into the other end of it and somebody have to come and rescue it. I mean, it's really gotten pretty bad. Yeah. But without a doubt, third-party candidates are going to hurt Joe Biden far more than Donald Trump. Donald Trump, in many ways, is both a Republican and a third-party candidate. It's the reason that his numbers never move. His core base is with him, and they're not going to leave. Unlike Joe Biden, who has to fend off third-party candidates, almost all of which, whether it's Cornel, whether it's RFK Jr., whether it's someone from the Green or Libertarian Party, most of them will pull votes from Joe Biden, not from Donald Trump.
That was my concern. Was what if RFK went over to the Libertarian Party? I had heard whispers about something like that. You don't think that would hurt Trump?
No, I don't. I think Trump's followers are solid with him. I think RFK is a very credible candidate. It's a shame the Democrats don't understand that his last name, I mean, it's the legacy of the party.
Yeah.
It's insane that they've treated him like a pariah. And, frankly, he's a very brilliant, intelligent kind of guy. He's articulate. And, he's got some opinions. Maybe you don't agree with all of them, but you can't deny that this guy actually says what he means and means what he says. Yeah. And there is nobody else in the Democrat Party that you can say that about right now.
And nobody has the connection to the voters. He might not have the connection to the establishment, but to the voters, he would connect far better. I think he would actually perform a lot better. That's that.
And that's that. Yeah, that is that. But that's very... I mean, here's the thing that I was wondering, because in this they get to it in this video later, a little bit later on. Sorry, I had some Wi-Fi issues once again. Will RFK? Here's the question: if it's true, and this is hypothetical on top of hypothetical on top of hypothetical. If RFK Jr. on October 9, 2024 says that he is going to run as a third-party candidate instead of running against Joe Biden, does that mean that RFK Jr. is going to join an existing third-party party, or is he going to create his own party, a new party, an entirely brand new party that will then focus on the Democrat issues, the issues that matter to RFK and RFK's many supporters? You can see by the events that he has coming up. It's California. He wants to win California, and that makes sense. That's his home state currently. That's where he is right now. He's a New York guy, so obviously he would want to win there too. He just needs to win a couple states to make a big, big statement. Now, if he were to stay as a Democratic candidate, he could, in theory, win New Hampshire and Iowa simply because Joe Biden does not show up on those ballots. So, but it all depends. Is New Hampshire and Iowa on the Democrat side, are they going to stick to that? Or what we need to learn, let me put it like this, because the primaries are so confusing to me. And I can see why it's so rigged. And this 5-minute video that I hope to play by the end of this show will kind of really break all of that down. RFK Jr. breaks all of that down with Theo Vaughn in 5 minutes of what is going on, why it's probably a good idea to run as a third-party candidate and not to run against Joe Biden. A lot can be learned from Bernie Sanders, no doubt, with Hillary Clinton. There's just so much to it. I'm so surprised. I had a lot of trouble sleeping out last night just because of how big of a deal this could be and how secretive it seems like the Kennedy campaign is being about what is going to happen on October 9th. The October surprise is in full effect here. And this is not an October surprise, a military October surprise or anything like that is going to kill people. This is an October surprise that may be good, like an early Christmas present that may actually help this country and may help the good people of this country, because we know what is wanted, right? We know. And I'll just show you exactly what's wanted for president. Well, I would want RFK Jr. for president too. I'd be okay with that. I would be okay if RFK Jr. fair and square beat Donald J. Trump. And now he can beat Biden too. So now you have two people that can take away votes from Biden. And they want to act like, oh, they're just gonna take away votes from Trump. I don't believe so. RFK Jr. is going to take away the real Democrats from the fake Democrat Party. That's what I think is going to happen. He may draw in some of the people who are tired of Trump and don't want to vote for him on the Republican side. I think the big Republican establishment does not want Trump. I think that's clear. So they're not going to vote for Biden. So people who don't want Biden, people who don't want Trump, it's going to be RFK Jr. But I believe that there's a lot more people that don't want Biden than there are people that don't want Trump. That's just my view on it. We'll see. We'll see what the votes show. The main thing is now, not only will you have the Trump campaign looking for to make sure that every vote is legal and every vote goes through the legal process, you will have RFK Jr.'s team doing the same thing, which will make it harder for anybody who wants to cheat for a certain party. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing. So these are things I'm trying to wrap my head around, because as I'm writing this book, and I've been just taking all of these clips, anytime RFK is asked about a third party run, anytime he's asked about a third party candidacy run, I took those clips. You'll see some of those. I'm going to play some more of those here, just so that we could document them. And the book is taking a turn. It's taken a turn a little bit earlier than I thought that it would, but that's okay. That's good. It's going to keep me on my toes and make sure that I make sure to document all of this, that we can always go back and see how it all played out 1 year from now. So we'll see what happens. Let me go and play a little bit more of this, and we'll come right back.
The 2024 presidential campaign season is already underway, with many candidates scheduled for a multitude of appearances over the 4th of July holiday. A Rasmussen poll out this week shows Donald Trump with a 49% approval rating, compared to Joe Biden at 46%. 49% of voters polled have a favorable opinion of Robert Kennedy Jr., and 34% of Democrats say they think he could win their party's presidential nomination.
I think you've praised other people who are running as independents. Would you yourself ever do that?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because I'm a Democrat, I really feel like the Democratic Party has lost its way. If you look at all the issues that I stand for, if you go through the issues that my father and my uncle stood for, I can go and check every one of those boxes. And those are the issues that I believe. I believe, that the Democratic Party traditionally was anti-war. We were against censorship. We were not a good home for the neocons. Those were Republicans, a very aggressive, pugnacious, belligerent foreign policy that they represent, which the Democrats are always against. We were the party that was against Wall Street instead of inviting Wall Street to strip mine the American public and destroy the American middle class. My Democratic Party was the party that represents the middle class and represents the poor in the country. And I want to bring the Democratic Party back to those original values.
If you don't get the Democratic nomination, will you run third party?
Well, first of all, I'd say this. And if you made a checklist of all the things my uncle John F. Kennedy believed in and that he fought for this country, and all of the values and principles and reforms that my father fought for, that I would check off every one of those. I think, what I consider myself a traditional Kennedy Democrat, and the fact that many Republicans now are supporting the fact that we shouldn't have toxics in the environment, to me is a good thing. And the other issues that I believe in, the more Republicans that support those issues, the better. It was weird. And for me, for years, I've been trying to get Fox News to cover the issue of endocrine disruptors. Endocrine disruptors, which I've worked on, litigated on in many years. They're a class of chemicals that affect sexual development in human beings and in animals. Things like PCBs, PFAS, atrazine, and many, many others. And I've been trying to get Republican, the Fox News and other Republican news casters to cover that issue for years about the dangers of that, and the drops in sperm count, the early the links with those chemicals, and early puberty in females, boys and girls. And nobody's been willing to touch it. It was considered a Democratic issue. And then Tucker Carlson did an entire documentary about it. And all of a sudden, a lot of Democrats were saying, oh, that's a bad issue. Now, I don't understand that. I think it's an issue that we fought for, that I've fought for many years. I'm really happy if Republicans and Democrats are both paying attention to those issues. So, would I run as a Republican? No.
Would you run third party?
My hope is to bring the Democratic Party back to its original core values, the values that FDR stood for, that Harry Truman stood for, that John F. Kennedy stood for, and Robert Kennedy stood for.
So run as an independent. Is that on the table?
I don't know. That is not on the table.
And that's what he was saying then. And obviously, this was before the issues that he's having right now with the Democrat Party, the DNC, so closely running Joe Biden's campaign, which they are not supposed to do. They're supposed to be separate. They're supposed to support everyone within their own party. That's not what we're seeing here. Has the DNC been taken over? You have the RNC. We're going to have a 4-party run in 2024 is what it's going to look like here. We'll see. We'll see how Trump fares too. But I don't believe, I think the Republican Party, the RNC, really does not want Donald Trump to be their nominee, and they don't know how to stop him from being the nominee. And there's not much that they can really do. He's going to get all of the delegates, so I don't know. I mean, maybe we're going to have a third party race here, a 3-party race here. This may be more like Clinton, Bush, and Ross Perot. That's what this is going to probably end up looking like here. And Kennedy is the new Ross Perot in this situation. But it's interesting because of who Kennedy is. He can pull this thing off, man. He can really pull this thing off and really help with voter integrity and make sure, right? But this is one more area where you will have people making sure that your vote does count, and your vote needs to count. It needs to count for so many reasons, and everybody knows this, right? Whether you're suspicious about 2020 or whether you think 2020 was a perfect election, the most perfect election ever, from what the certain people in the government will tell us, this is the best election ever, right? So no fraud, no evidence, all done, boom, perfect. So 2024, you will now have some extra watchdogs on this from a different perspective that will not just be pro-Trump MAGA people. You will now have other people, blue people, who are Kennedy Democrat or Kennedy supporters, who will also be watching for the voter fraud to make sure that it does not happen. And that's a big deal, because we need to be on our guard anytime it comes to voter fraud, whether that means proving it wrong or proving it right. But so I'm very curious to see how this ends up. It's just a few more minutes of this clip, and then I want to get to Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom, who are going to debate. Oh boy. That's going to be another one. All right, let's play another, just a few more minutes of this.
Is there a scenario, given your passion for these issues, where you might ever consider running as an independent, Mr. Kennedy, given the support you're seeing?
Only if the Democratic National Committee just makes it simply impossible for anybody to win the primary battle. That's the only way I would. I'm a Democrat. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I want to, my preference is to stay within the Democratic Party as long as it's actually democratic.
For years, third-party candidates have tried to gain ground with voters, but the group you're talking about, No Label, says next year may be different. It's taking steps now to...
This is interesting, too. This is a clip. This clip is probably a couple months old here, but I think it's pretty relevant to what's happening right now. I've never heard of this group, and I do wonder, this brought me back to the question, will RFK Jr. run with one of these third-party groups, or will he create his own? If it's going to be something historic on October 9th, the most historic thing I can think of him doing is starting a brand new party, a new Democrat Party. We'll see. But it's hard for me to think that he's just going to join some other party. Maybe he will, and we'll see, because the Libertarian Party would love him. I'm sure the Green Party would love him. This group that they're talking about here, they would also love. He'd fit right in with any of these third-party candidates, third-party platforms.
Established itself in multiple states, so it could potentially launch a presidential bid in 2024. Gallup surveys voters every month, asking them how they see themselves. The latest poll showed 45% labeled themselves as independents, compared to 27% Republican and 25% Democrat.
Even though this is a few months old, that's huge. That's huge numbers. And of course, I don't believe in polls. I don't trust the polls or anything. But it's interesting to see what the poll numbers show.
No Label says it hears from voters often who are fed up with the status quo. Now, the group, as you mentioned, it's not new. It's been around a few years, but it's taking its most serious steps yet to potentially launch a national campaign. It's gained ballot access in 10 states, most recently North Carolina. The group says it hopes to double that number. It wants to be set up in 20 states by the end of this year. And essentially what they're doing is laying the groundwork now to get an unnamed candidate on the ballot. But No Labels also tells us it's not guaranteed the group will launch a so-called unity ticket.
We only know if we're going to nominate a ticket. We have to be patient. We are a political eternity away from next spring. Lots of things could happen. All right. And so, but to lay out that infrastructure and that groundwork and securing the ballot across this country takes a bit of time.
The group has yet to say who it would nominate, but it argues voters would be disappointed with a Trump-Biden rematch. Other activist groups say they're worried, though, that no labels means a guaranteed second Trump term. The left-leaning group Third Way says a no labels ticket cannot win the presidency and will be a spoiler that reelects Trump. Now, No Labels insists it would abandon any bid if it thought it was boosting the former president in his campaign. And the group says, Shannon, it's likely to decide its next steps after Super Tuesday, which is in early March. So they still have some time here, but it is fascinating. They are laying the groundwork.
I want to get a sense of if the decision holds for the current, sort of primary structure with the DNC. What is the route to victory for you against President Biden?
If the DNC is going to rig it so that it is simply impossible for anybody to challenge President Biden, then, I need to look at other alternatives, because I can't go back to the people support me and to my donors and say, I'm in this to make a point. I need to show them a road to victory.
What kind of alternatives would you be exploring, Mr. Kennedy?
Well, I don't know exactly, because I want to see what the DNC does. I want to see if they make it a fair contest. And I'm not asking that it be 100% fair, but I'm asking that there at least be, a chance that it be plausible for somebody else to win other than their, chosen anointed candidate.
And that's interesting. He wants to make
another
sure.
Strong debate performance. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. How are you, Governor? Good to see you.
All right. So that's an excellent job there. I am going to play a little bit here because now I want to get into Ron DeSantis, and he is going to debate Gavin Newsom. This is pretty cool. I'm actually liking this. So I'm going to play a little bit of this.
See you.
I'll tell you what, I've been in California. We got in Sunday night and we were in Coronado.
Gavin's in the room.
Well, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
People are buzzing about this debate that you're going to do. So I think it's going to be incredible. We're due. But tonight, look, there was a lot of bickering on the stage. And, my thing is like, look, we owe it to the American people to give our vision about how we're going to reverse this country's decline. And I think I was able to do that. I think some of the crosstalk, if I was at home watching that, I would turn the channel when I saw that. So we were able to, I think, rise above that and deliver our message.
Listen, in my view, there were a couple of people on that stage, in my view, that probably shouldn't have been there. Right. I mean, and I think at that point, it lends itself more to a conversation. It is interesting. I think this debate is with you and the governor is going to be very interesting. So I'm looking forward to moderating that. And I think with 90 minutes, just plenty of breathing room. So that will lend itself to more conversation.
And you know what? Maybe we can say, since the former president didn't come here, maybe he'd be willing to do one with you and I. I think he owes it to our voters to come and make the case.
You're now challenging it. So this is going to be Hannity one-on-one debate.
Let's do it. Let's do it, right?
I'll do anything. I'll ask them.
Here's the thing, though. You owe it to the voters to come and make the case. No one's entitled to anything. You can say, oh, there's some poll months before. No, you got to make the case. You got to owe it to the voters. So I'm going to show up everywhere. I think that's what we were able to do. And, there were some important issues that were discussed tonight. There's also others that I know you and I have talked about that weren't discussed. But at the end of the day, I think the thing that was clear for this, there's a lot of talk. A lot of people had good things to say. I'm the guy that's done it. In Florida, we did everything I promised. We delivered. And we're sick of the talk with Republicans. Right. They always promise all this. Like, what are the two biggest issues, arguably, right now? The debt and the border. You and I have been talking about this for as long as we've known each other. Isn't it time we get a leader to come in and bring this stuff into a conclusion and a landing? And I think if we're able to, to do that, with the nomination and win the election, we're going to be able to get all this stuff done.
Nobody brought up the point regarding the border, and I thought you had a very strong position of what you would do to close the border and no nonsense, get this thing closed. It's now become, to me, more than anything else, a national security.
Yes.
We are catching people that are on the terror watch list, but we're not vetting anybody. We have no idea what their background is.
People are coming from China, Russia, Iran, all of our enemy countries. They're coming across the border. I hope I'm wrong, but if I had to bet my life savings, I would bet that there will be a terrorist attack that happens in the future of this country that's going to be traced to that.
I mean, I wish, I pray we're wrong.
These guys in D.C., They don't care. There's no urgency. I mean, some of our guys in the House care, but like the elites in D.C., they don't care. Biden doesn't care. He's missing in action on this as the carnage mounts. And I agree. I mean, I think that this is above all a national security issue. Now, there's also nuts and bolts issues. I mean, the amount of illegals that are pouring in, medical care is being taxed, schools, it's overwhelming communities far away from the border. You see it in New York City.
In New York City, so they're paying about, on average, $40,000 per illegal immigrant. Okay. They expect
and they're kicking out the veterans to make room for illegals.
The veterans never had the four-star hotels. Yes. They're building all these facilities. They expect to spend $12 billion in the next 18 months. And, you know, they're claiming this came from Governor Abbott. No, 87%.
Greg has said some, and I think it's been very good. Exactly.
It's 13%.
But here's the problem with this government we have, and I think why people are rightfully so frustrated. They can't tell us how many illegals are coming across the border. They can't tell us how many tanks we left in Afghanistan. They can't tell you where all the money in Ukraine went. They can't even tell you how cocaine got in the White House, and yet they want to go after, if you do $601 transaction.
Let's be fair to the investigators. They spent 10 long days investigating where that cocaine came from and came to the conclusion they'll never get a conclusion. How is that? But in the Menendez case, they actually found the fingerprints of the people that handed the envelopes, so they claim, to Senator Menendez. Pretty interesting comparison.
I can't believe, you know, he had all the gold bars there. I guess that's a real testament to Bidenflation.
Listen, I love that he Googled
people. You need to have that.
How much is a kilo of gold worth, right? You can't make this up. Generally speaking, you know, I guess the theme of the night, as I watched and listened to you tonight, was, okay, these are the tough stances I took in Florida. These are that's my proven track record, and that's what I want to bring to the White House. That's your message.
I think it's leadership, and I think it's deliverables, because we can have great sloganeering, we can have great debates, but if we're not ultimately going to get this done, then none of it matters. And one of the things I've been thinking about lately, because preparing here, I looked at Reagan's farewell address. So in 2033 in January, what would I say to the American people after serving 2 terms? And that's really the vision of, you're going to be able to get ahead again in this country. We're going to have an economy that works for people. We're going to have our sovereignty restored and borders enforced. We're going to make sure that we have education, not indoctrination. We will be the world's leading superpower. We will fend off the threat from China successfully. We're not going to have crime overrunning every city in America anymore. And we're going to restore the Constitution so that we have a limited government that works beside us and on our behalf, not a weaponized government that comes after us. If we can do that, then we will have restored the shining city on the hill that Reagan talks about, and we'll be able to turn over America to our kids and grandkids better than we found it.
Governor, thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good to see you.
Yep.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
They're failing leftist policies. That have left California one of the most egregious states in the nation when it comes to for businesses, high taxes, high rates of poverty. That's why Ron DeSantis is doing this, is to offer a different vision for the country, a better forward-looking vision for the country, and it's the blueprint that has been the one he's been running in Florida.
Yeah, but Carly, this has got to be about more than just debating a blue state governor. Otherwise, DeSantis could debate Maura Healey from Massachusetts or Kathy Hochul in New York, or pick your failed Democratic governor. Does the Governor DeSantis, view Newsom as a possible opponent in 2024?
We'll see. But at the end of the day, I'll go back to the point I just made, which is California is the best example of what happens when you have leftist policies in charge. You're right. We could pick any state, but California is the best example of what happens when you have this far left, radical socialist type governance. When you see somebody like Gavin Newsom, who has been putting his thumb on the scale, trying to get government to fix every problem, it's only made everything worse. That was on full display during the lockdowns. California was locked down for years.
But Carly, does on some level, and I'm sorry to cut you off, does on some level DeSantis think he could be running, if he's the nominee, he could be running against somebody like Gavin Newsom specifically, and not Joe Biden or Kamala Harris?
That's up to Gavin Newsom. At the end of the day, look, what happened was Gavin Newsom said, I'll debate Ron DeSantis. And Ron DeSantis said, okay, bring it on. Tell me the date. Tell me the time, because that's who Ron DeSantis is. He shows up. He'll debate the issues. He'll put his record and defend his record, because it's a successful one, up against anybody's in the country, whether that's at the GOP debate this week, whether it's against Gavin Newsom. Anybody who wants to debate Ron DeSantis anywhere, anytime, let's do it, because nobody can touch Governor DeSantis's record. Nobody is a stronger leader, a better leader for the people who he serves than Ron DeSantis.
All right, Hogan, just want to give you some time to respond.
Yeah, look, I think Gavin Newsom basically governs a state in the way and the manner in which most Democrats wish Joe Biden could govern the country. They want all of these leftist policies enacted, the radical environmental policies that have ruined California with wildfires, the radical social policies that have hurt the schools in California, the radical poverty issues that have really destroyed cities like San Francisco. It's infested with needles and drug use, et cetera. So he is kind of the exclamation point, if you will, on the radical policies that Joe Biden wants to enact.
Yeah.
The juxtaposition could not be different. And this is a debate between red policies in red states versus blue policies in blue states. A lot of people, though, in the middle of the country think Gavin Newsom's handsome. He runs California. It's a great state. But the more you start to peel back those layers and take a look at what the policies actually do to the people, it's going to be a repudiation of that type of mentality that Joe Biden has embraced and has tried to implement at the federal level.
Yeah, Hogan, I agree with you and Carly there. I think that DeSantis, all he's got to do is fall back on his record, and he wins the debate. Newsom can't do that, even though he's got, a nice head of hair on him. But I feel like we're tiptoeing around what's really going on here. I do think, Hogan, that there is a part of the DeSantis campaign. Carly doesn't want to go there, and I get that. But I think there's part of this that is, well, maybe these two are the actual candidates in 2024. And if DeSantis has a good night, this could really help DeSantis' campaign. On the other side, if Newsom has a good night, people like David Ignatius in the Washington Post might say, well, maybe we really got to give Gavin Newsom a serious look here.
They're both very crafty politicians. They're both very accomplished politicians in their own right. Obviously, DeSantis' policies make Florida more successful than California, and Newsom's policies made it. But the debate here, whether they end up being top of the ticket or not, I think it's more of a comment about where the two parties are and where the two styles of governance take the American people and our futures. Obviously, Republican policy, America First policies from Donald Trump are the ones that improve the lives of all Americans, whereas the leftist policies have destroyed so many of the states. You see crime spike all over in those governed blue states. It's a problem, and I think we should debate it and expose it at every single turn and every opportunity. And so I'm anxious to see this one as well.
I think a lot of people are going to be watching this debate.
There was like you guys had an issue with the security, right?
Yeah, so I think I will definitely be watching it. I think a lot of people that I know will be watching it, and why not, right? Why not watch it? I got this one. I do have this here. I want to get back to it. I gotta play. I feel like I want to give Gavin Newsom one more clip here before I get to the grand finale of what I wanted to talk about with RFK Jr. Okay, so what I will do is I'm going to share this here. This is about a 2-minute clip. I mean, to anyone, I don't know, does anyone really think Gavin Newsom, is going to run? I mean, he's already said that he's not going to run against, he's not going to run, in 2024, and he's smart to do that, unlike Ron DeSantis. So that's one area where I may actually think Gavin Newsom is doing better because he is not planning on running in 2024. However, agreeing to this debate is an interesting move for Gavin Newsom, who does not need it. Doesn't hurt him at all. This is only going to help him. So is this I don't want to dig too deep into it to get into Gavin Newsom's campaign's mind or anything, but obviously those waters, and even my friend Steven, he was saying he thinks Gavin Newsom is going to run. I can see that. I think what we may see here is 2028 is the two candidates for the two-party system in 2028, Ron DeSantis on the Republican side, and then obviously, Gavin Newsom there. So on the Democrat side. So I'll play this. This is a 2-minute clip. Let's see what he has to say.
So there's this debate tonight, which is an official presidential debate. And then there's that upcoming debate, which is scheduled for November 30th. Sean Hannity is going to moderate it on the Fox News channel. No crowd in Georgia. Governor Newsom versus Governor DeSantis.
I hope it's live.
That was just confirmed a few days ago. This is the first time Newsom has talked about it in depth. And it was very interesting what he said about DeSantis. Listen to this.
This week, we learned that it's going to happen, a debate between you and Ron DeSantis, November 30th, Fox News Channel, Sean Hannity in Georgia without a crowd, just the two of you. Why are you doing that, and what is your strategy?
Well, I don't know if that's the right question. Why is he doing it is the right question. He's running, I think, I'm not sure after tonight, but currently he's running for president of the United States.
And you think he's still going to be? You think he'll still be a candidate November 30th?
That's an open-ended question. Part of me wonders if, the fact that he took this debate, the fact that he took the bait.
He took the bait. See, that's interesting here too, because it's like, well, you challenged him, he accepted it, and now you're wondering why he did it. I don't know. That's not a good start for you, Newsom.
Shows that he's completely unqualified to be president of the United States.
Okay,
That's
let me
my
go
humble
back.
first-
Let me go back a little bit.
The United States.
Okay,
That's
sorry.
my humble first debate. The fact that he took the bait in relation to this debate shows that he's completely unqualified to be president of the United States. That's my humble first.
Why is that? You're baiting him with the debate offer?
Of course. I mean, why is he debating a guy who's not even running for president when he's running for president? He's showing up at the Reagan Library, hallowed ground, and he puts out an ad today, not for his presidential campaign, to promote a debate against the governor of California. I mean, this guy's distracted. So I don't know that he has it in his heart. I think, here's my personal opinion about Ron DeSantis. He regrets running for president. He made a huge mistake. He listened to his consultants. He bought his own hype. He had this little God complex.
I kind of agree with Gavin on that one.
I mean, look at the ads themselves. Literally, God created. I mean, he bought into all this stuff. And he quickly regretted it, but he's stuck. And here's the problem. He had one chance of first impression. He's belly flopped. He's down 30 plus points from where he started. So it's a terrible situation for him.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I had not seen that before, so that was the first time that I've seen that clip. That's really interesting. Good stuff there. I don't know. I do not know. The only thing I can say is I'm looking forward to it. But I mean, you Gavin Newsom put the debate out there, and then when Ron DeSantis accepted, he comes back with all these things. So this is only going to help Ron DeSantis. That's what I think. This is good for him. This is a good move. These are the moves he should be doing. The governor versus governor, 2 different states across this great country here. It's going to be good stuff. November 30th. Sean Hannity doing it. Okay, that's cool. So it'll be on Fox. Hopefully I can figure out a way to see it and stream it, but probably not. So now I really want to get back into, now that we've covered all of that gobbledygook, because we have those candidates running, and again, Gavin Newsom again states he is not running for president, and I think he's right. I think it's a smart move. It's something that Ron DeSantis should have done too, is not run for president at this time. So I think Gavin Newsom hit him hard there. That was good. That was a very good move by Gavin Newsom. I want to get back into RFK Jr., and he's going to explain some things about the DNC, the Democratic Party convention.
So you're running right now. You're running for president.
Yeah.
With the Democratic, under the Democratic Party, right?
At the moment.
Okay. And so is it normal that someone is able to run against the incumbent? I want to make this clear from audience, because some audience, I hear words a lot of times and I don't know what they mean, right? So like the incumbent is the guy who's already in office, right?
Yeah.
So if a president has already done one term, then he's the incumbent as he goes up to do the second term, right?
Yeah.
And he has to run against someone who's submitted by the other party.
Well, he ultimately has to run the other party, is going to nominate somebody to run against them.
So the Republicans will nominate somebody to run against.
But if you're a Democrat, if you're popular within your own party, a lot of times you won't have a challenger from within your own party. So you'll only have to go to the prize fight. You don't have to, fight all the belugas who are coming after you.
And who determines if they have to fight all the belugas?
Well, it would be, me. I would run against him, but my father ran against Lyndon Johnson when, Lyndon Johnson in 68.
Mm-hmm.
Lyndon Johnson was an incumbent Democratic president, and my father challenged him, and ultimately Johnson withdrew, and he pulled out of the way at race, and then my father won the primaries. And he was killed. My father was killed on the last night of the primaries, so June 6th. He won, the last primaries, California, South Dakota, and a couple of others, and he was killed that night. My uncle Ted Kennedy ran in 1980 against Jimmy Carter, who was a president of his own party. So yeah, it's not uncommon for people to run against a president of their own party. And, I've had a long friendship with Biden. I've known President Biden for at least 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And he has a statue, a bust of my father on the behind him in the Oval Office. If any picture that you have of Biden, there's a bust of my father. You can call it up. Now, and there's 5 members of my family who are working in the administration.
In the Biden administration?
Yeah.
Wow.
At different ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And so...
do you think he'll get the nomination from his party for the 2024?
Well, I think I could beat him in the... you can see in that middle one, the second one from the right up there, that one. There's a bust of my father behind him.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so cool, man. That'd be cool if I were my dad.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Do you think that he will get the? Yeah, so I guess I have 2 questions, because some of the process.
I think I can beat him if they give me a fair fight.
Right. Okay. But before that, do you think that he'll get the nomination?
Well, I think I could get the nomination.
Okay.
If they gave me a fair fight.
I see. Do you think that you're currently getting a fair fight?
No.
Why?
Well, because they're doing, the Democratic Party is supposed to be neutral. They're not supposed to choose favorites, but they actually endorsed him a week after he declared. And his campaign is being run out of the Democratic Party office.
Which seems like convoluted, huh?
Yeah, it's not. It's a conflict, and
because the party should be separate from the president, even if they're of the same.
Yeah, they're supposed to be,
even if they're both Democratic.
Yeah, the party should be neutral and say, "Look, we're going to be the referees in this fight." It's like, it's like if you went to a football game and the referee in the game was wearing the same uniform as the guys you were playing against.
Right. You say, hey.
Yeah. So that's what they're doing. And what they've done is they've taken the states that voted most strongly against Biden last time around, and they've said, if anybody visits those, if I visit those states, and no vote in that state will count in the election. So if I go to New Hampshire, which I did, any vote that I get in New Hampshire will not count.
Any vote you get to what?
For me. So if I beat Biden in New Hampshire and I win all the delegates, those delegates will not be allowed into the convention.
But how can they just say that? Isn't there like a democratic process that overrides that?
You would think, but actually the party makes its own rules. And there was Bernie Sanders, they did the same thing to Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, they cooked me, man.
And he sued them and said, you guys rigged the game against me. You fixed.
And this is why I think Kennedy may he may start his own party. He may start a brand new party based on all this. Maybe.
And the court said, yes, they did fix it, but actually it's a private club and they're allowed to fix it. They can make up any rules they want. They can do it.
It's a private club and you're not in it. There's the admission.
Anything they want. So
see, this just leans so much more into like this stuff that like people feel like their vote doesn't
there you go.
Yeah, and this is why it's a good idea to have third parties, to have multiple parties here, not just to rely on these two parties here. I think that's why this is a really good idea for that.
Oh, matter. Court concedes DNC had the right to rig primaries against Sanders.
And that's Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who,
DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz for violating the DNC charter by rigging the Democratic presidential primaries for Hillary Clinton against Bernie Sanders.
And she's the one who tried to silence me when I testified before Congress a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
And so anyway,
it just feels like it feels so dirty at every turn.
It sure does. So that's all that I can say about that. And thank you all, my friends. And until next time, I think that's a great place to really stop this one. And we'll see what happens with the DNC, the RNC. See what happens with everything next. We may have 5 people here, 5 viable candidates. Even though Gavin Newsom is still saying he's not going to run, we'll see how that goes. In 2028, I think he's primed to. Ron DeSantis, if he would have waited, he would have had a really good shot for 2028. We'll see what happens now. But you have Donald J. Trump on the Republican side, Ron DeSantis, which unless something weird happens with Donald Trump, I don't see Ron DeSantis getting the Republican nomination. Now that we've seen some weird things happening on the Democrat side, it seems like RFK has realized it's time to, he doesn't just want to make a statement and say, I'm going to hang in this and show that the system is rigged, blah, blah, the Democrat Party sucks, because as he just said, it's a private club. And they can do whatever they want. So he is really looking at alternative options. So it looks like we are going to have a 3-party race. And if Jesse Ventura throws his hats, then we have a 4-party race. So we could have a presidential race after the primaries that has Joe Biden, that has Donald J. Trump, RFK Jr., and possibly Jesse Ventura, all a part of 4 different parties. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. So God bless you all. Until next time.